What are you up to? What are you posting? What are you thinking? What are you thinking? And thank you for that link today. That was very handy. I know of Sonia, yes. But yeah, fantastic video. Fantastic lady.
Yeah, and, she's good. She's got some good stuff.
Yeah, I resonated a lot what she was saying. She put a lot of things into sense, you know, that I can't, you know, she's good with Orient. She's got oriented, she's got good speech skills. I can't say it the way she does, but she explained it really, really well. It feels exactly like she said as well. You put it into simulation terms, makes sense of a lot of stuff, doesn't it? You know, it covers pretty much everything, really, that's happening. If you think of like then magic, or you know, alchemical mysticism, and or the spiritual realm, or the angel stuff going on, or the angel realm, if you could think of that in the terms of, you know, super hyper futuristic technologies, then you be getting into it. That's what's going on. It's not magic, it's tech. All tech, out of geometry, out of this place. You just know how it works, you know?
Yeah, well, and that's all they've done. It's like the 440, 432 frequency. They just change it a bit, and we can't see it. That's the thing. You don't have to change it a lot, just a little bit. It's like they do with the truth. You know, they give us sort of 95% truth and 5% lies. That's all they have to do is just change it that little bit.
They're jumping the timelines anyway, like she said on a video, Sonia, this morning. I feel that, you know, there's things missing that were there before. The memories are just more distant, like they weren't even mine anyway. Trying to make connections with my memories is getting difficult. Something's going on.
Isn't it weird? It's almost feel like it's almost like I'm in no more, because there's not much behind me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you say with the memories, you can't connect with them, so you feel like you're present a lot more.
Yeah.
Like not connected to the past so much.
Because it's not there.
Yeah, it's weird. Sometimes I wake up and I'm jumped about 20 timelines overnight. I just wake up so tired. It's just like, oh my God, what happened?
You're only ever in the now. Just think of it in a movie. Think of it in a TV show. That you switch it on, and that's the now moment. You know, they're not going away. They're not there before. They're not there after. They're just there now. Think of it like that, because that's all it is. Because the past is not there, is it? Even 10 minutes ago, you would be thinking about the past. It's not there. It's figments in your mind. Electrical impulse. It's not there. The future is there because you're about to go there.
Yeah. Well,
seconds away.
You can only go there from now, but I used to think
you live almost in the present. There's a slight delay between your experience and the actual. So we live in this sliver of the recent past. And that's all you ever get. And it's all happening in the 6 or so inches between your ears.
Crazy stuff. Indeed.
Yes, that's the other thing. Yeah, everything you see is actually, it's inside your mind. It's not out there. But this is the thing I used to think about when I was young. It's like, how do we know, like, how does anyone know that they weren't created 5 minutes ago and all their past memories just implanted, just part of the program? We can't prove that.
Shell Beach. I know. We can't prove it's not true. I know. Why do we sleep? Why does this battery machine need to shut down every single night? And it's a must, apparently. But you can exist without sleep. I've not had sleep for months on end and existed fantastically. So it's not true. So why do we shut down? What happens when we shut down with our minds as well? Because we're not in this realm, are we?
Where does it go?
What exactly is going on?
Yeah, I wanted to share something about this realm here.
Cool.
Let's see if this works. Let's see. Can you see it?
It's coming up.
Is it a black screen?
Huh. I don't know what's going on with my computer here. Let's see.
It's the coal mine and the lights are going off.
Let me try something else here.
There you are, I got it up. It's graph.
Okay, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So Campbell and I talked about 1850. I've mentioned, it keeps coming up in my research, the year 1850. And I know both of you have seen this year come up many, many times. But this is the population of Texas. And it's just amazing. It's just it's an example
what
of.
What I do?
Can you see it?
My back. Oh, God, yep. So, no, I can't see a picture. I just cut myself off. Oh, now I can. Awesome. Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just an example. There's this one. So this is Texas, and yeah, it's what would explain. Okay, there were people in the continent that I'm on since about the time there were people on your continent. And how could it be? How could it be that it's not infertile land? It's not weather related or climate, or what would explain why Texas would have so few people in 1850, just in 1850, going back? You know, this, to me, this type of graph absolutely proves the reset idea.
Yeah, this was replicated everywhere. The same graph. You know, the population growths of every city in Christendom has got the same story. Melbourne, London, New York, Boston, you name it, they all got the same story. Exploded out of nowhere, all within this time period.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought was, because I've wondered, you know, if the reset is completely evil, first of all, if you're a believer in God, why would God allow such a thing? Number one, an omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient God wouldn't allow it, right? Well, and so there's that philosophically, but then functionally, practically, if the three of us ruled the world, I think, let's say that we were granted lifespans of 5,000 years and we ruled the world, we would encounter a problem in about 200 years, no matter what. And that problem would be absolute population overgrowth because of the rule of exponentials. Now, I can see some solutions for that problem, but for some reason, these solutions don't tend to work. And I think I know why. And the reason is there's a percentage of people who will always do whatever they want, no matter how harmful it is to others. And with that, oh, shoot, hang on a second. I got to make sure this is being recorded.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Because I dropped out.
Oh, it's cut it.
I don't see it recording.
Oh, it says Martin's recording it.
I'm not. I haven't pressed nothing.
Okay. Oh. I don't even see
it says Martin's recording.
Well, I didn't press it. I see it. Weird.
Yeah, I don't have a record, but
I didn't either. It didn't show up. Till now. It's weird. It's as kooky as YouTube. YouTube's acting really kooky.
Yeah. The Archons are freaking out, the old AI Archons.
Yeah, man. Just in State of My Life feed the other day, it scrambled everybody's names around. So it was just the most confusing thing ever. I've never seen anything like it. It's done my head in.
Really?
Yeah, there's a frequency.
It's just madness, isn't it? They're doing something.
Yeah, I was thinking.
But isn't it weird, like this whole AI thing, and AI, you know, is supposed to be the, you know, new world order. That's what they're bringing in, is AI. But at the same time, everyone's saying that, you know, this whole Sahara stuff is supposed to be AI as well. It's like, oh, it's good. I think that could be a cover for something. Oh, you guys there, or am I alone?
No, you're not alone. I'm thinking.
I'm not alone. Oh.
I'm thinking about
You're not alone.
AI.
We have a percentage.
He sounds like he's in the fish tank at the moment, UAP.
I don't know what's Caroline.
No, you're miles away. Sound really far away.
Yeah.
like you're actually talking to me from a
Come closer.
Come and hit that.
Okay, how about now?
Not really.
Sounds like you're back in 1850, mate.
Do the voice. Yeah, I know. It's really weird how they talk back then. It's not really that not long ago.
Yeah, we need wooden nickels for that. But I was thinking about the voices actually. Like, isn't it strange that they all spoke in that sort of, well, here we go. Look at this guy. Oh, he's got an airplane. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
And
it's great. Yeah, I know.
They kind of did up until sort of, you know, what, 30s, 40s, and then it just kind of changed.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. I know
It
the common folk, us, like myself and I, we've always had bad language. If you were in the trenches of the First World War, when you were from Cardiff, you would have sounded pretty much like you do now. You would be effing and blinding and sounding like you were from Cardiff. So it's only been the tops or the establishment that got plums in their mouth. And like that, and all try to talk like that for some reason. Some pompous and fancy.
So is that some kind of accent? Is it like the Reset Master's accent?
I don't know.
Because of course it's only the people on film that we hear that have that accent.
I found video.
Can't hear you properly.
Oh, you've gone again.
He's there. He's just miles away.
Oh, I am.
Many miles away. In America land.
I'll talk right into the mic. That has to be loud enough now.
Yeah, man.
Is it better?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's a bit loud, but it's still very, very quiet.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just speak up, but...
Is it?
I can hear it.
Okay.
Is it plugged in properly, or?
Yeah.
I can hear you a bit better there.
Okay. Well, there's a video I did. I found, you know, they have like actors today doing these things. Well, there's a guy in the 1920s, an older guy, probably about 60 or 70, who's playing like different characters in these historical interviews and things like that. Like he plays a Civil War Confederate, like an ex-Confederate soldier. Now in 1929, he'd have to be pretty dang old to be a Civil War veteran. And I think he overstates his age. And they did a video about interviewing older people born around 1850 or 1860. And they represent these people's ages, and it's way off. It's way off. One guy said he was 110, and it's the same guy who played a guy who was younger in another interview. And they played Civil War Confederate soldiers doing the rebel yell, and it's hilarious if you see it. It's just a joke. The duper's delight is palpable when they do the rebel yell. And it's very much like Native American Indians, you know, the yell that we were taught they would make in battle, like battle cries and that type of stuff. And I think it's just bad acting. I think it's just, you know, how one actor kind of plays the same character in different movies and things like that. Well, that seems to me like that was happening, where they're doing like the Native American Indian war cry as the as the Civil War rebel soldier yell. But if you think about it, that wouldn't happen organically. If you are enemies with the people, you're not going to adopt something that they do as your call to arms or something like that. That's just ridiculous. But if you have an actor playing, maybe he plays a Native American Indian in one scene, and then he goes over and he has to play a Civil War soldier in another, he just pulls from his shallow talent pool of different tropes to use, and it's just, and they're laughing as they're doing it. If you've been through a war, you're going to have post-traumatic stress. You're going to be a little bit more serious about it, but they're goofing and laughing, and they're doing their war cries. And they one guy did these theatrics. He's doing his yell, and when he does it, he goes like this, whoa, whoa, and he's laughing as he's doing it. He's supposed to be a soldier who has seen his brothers die, and this type of stuff. He is not going to be doing that, even with the camera and everything. No. And then there was another one where there was a General Pierce, and the guy said, okay, General Pierce, da 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 da, very loud, and the guy's there going, and he goes, General Pierce, and then he's like, he can hear him saying that, but he's like, is he talking to me? It's not a hearing thing. It was, I'm General Pierce now. Okay, now I remember, and he's like, oh yeah, well that's me. It's so obvious. Yeah.
Playing. But that's the thing, isn't it, with all these actors? And I mean, when you look at it, and when you look at the world, I mean, especially this year, they shut the whole world down. But it's still, everyone's, there's still, millions of people at home without jobs, but the world's still functioning. You know, and it's like all these actors and all these singers and that, they get paid, stupid amounts of money. And why is that? And when you think about it, it's because they're valuable to the people who are running the show. They're out there spreading the message. They're out there bringing people over to their side. Yeah. They're out there, creating the narrative. And so that's why they get paid so much, because they're important to the, the whatever's cabals and that. But clearly all the rest of the jobs and that was just to keep people distracted, because they've all disappeared and everything's, as far as the world, it's functioning. There's food, there's water, there's electricity. So it's all just this, the world's completely different to what we think it is. Like what's important and what's, to them is completely different, to what we've been told. So yeah, looks like they're trying to pull a reset.
Yeah. So, you could look at it in the idea of it's a needed thing to create balance and equilibrium upon the realm because there's too many people. And like you just proved or just said, everything's ticking over, even if it's NCP's running it, it's ticking over. Economies haven't crashed. All of them fears before were absolute rubbish. So all of the people sat in their houses are doing what? In my area, they're just drinking and doing absolutely nothing with their lives. So what is their purpose in reality then? Same as a dinosaur, just. So I think they're going to have to balance the books maybe somewhere. They could kill a whole load of people, maybe the next one. These old ladies that they just bumped off the last one, and they've got their properties, their money. There's been loads of them. Though you can guarantee the old ladies have gone in these homes. So they've made a lot of money, and they've been giving that money to all of the people that are unemployed to sit in their houses, offer more money to sit in their houses and do absolutely nothing. Everyone on furlough being paid when everything's at a loss. How's that even happening? Think about it. They just wasted all them coal miners in all of them countries, Australia, Wales, England, all of these coal miners, when they already had free energy. So that's just bullshit. Keep everyone working, working men's clubs, the whole thing ticking over the machine, for nothing.
Yeah, they want you to, yeah, like you said, they'll pay you a lot to promote the narrative, and they'll pay you not a lot, but force you to be working a mundane job that keeps you busy. But what's changed with the truth movement now, I think, is with it, they're kind of letting somehow, maybe they couldn't stop it, but somehow suddenly everybody's waking up. Not everybody, but a lot of people are waking up faster, like us, to the truth, certain people. And they're also allowing that somewhat to happen. They're allowing it also for people to stay home, where they're doing nothing, but the internet's still on. And so they can research and find out. It's kind of like maybe they just want to see what we're able to know. I do wonder sometimes if it is an experiment, or maybe they've kind of fled. It could be that the jig is up or something is happening or on the cusp. And like you said, they've kind of fled. And so without that tighter control, it starts to pick up momentum. I don't know, but it's fascinating.
It feels like a selection process, and we're doing it for them. Find out who the intellectuals are, find out who work all this stuff out, find out who will not obey, or not people who don't wear masks. There's them that will do whatever they're told, like sheep. I don't think they'll be really happy with them or respect them in any way. No deep respect for them, for the other people. So it could be a selection process, for how many they're thinking about keeping. It's got to be a reset. They've already told us it's a reset. It might not be a war, but I don't know. At this stage, anything could happen, guys. It's just got.
Do you guys get the sense? I don't get the sense that they. I don't get the sense that they really fear us, and I don't get the sense that they disrespect us or don't like us. They're certainly different. They are certainly different from us. But I do think there's a kind of a level of respect that at least we're not as disgusting to them, people who actually believe what they put out.
Yeah.
And I think there's kind of a level of respect, like even within mafias and things like that, they have codes of ethics.
That's so true.
Yeah, I was hired in a job where I had to represent the management against a union, which is, as I was a contract engineer. I would never have taken that job if I had the choice, but it was the system, right? So I had to represent, and I sympathized with the union a lot, but then I had to do my job, and so I was functioning in my job capacity. Then the union started to be really hard on me, threaten me, and do things like that, just torment me. And they started to disrespect me a lot. And I went up to one of the union people with a lot of power. He could make my life miserable. But I stood up to him and I cussed him out and yelled at his face. Now, I thought I couldn't help what I did, but I was disrespected to an extreme, and I just didn't give a shit anymore, and I was ready to fight, and I expected to get hell after that, but actually everything got better. He respected me because I had a pair of balls and stood up for myself, not the management. I was representing management, but as a man, I didn't take the bullshit anymore. I stood up. And so maybe that's something that's going on as well. I wondered what you guys thought. Like, do you get the sense that they disrespect? I mean, obviously they disrespect the masses, but
I can't speak for myself, I can't speak for myself or how they might feel about me. Not really. I feel like I
think there's definitely
big thorn in their side. I don't know. There is something helping me, it's just I'm guided, but I don't think it's by them. I don't think it's by IA. I think I just work hard. what I do. You know, that's not them. That's just me. You know, creating whatever I create. It's my art form, like yourselves. So, you know, creating of expression. So, and it's truth that I seek, same as you guys. So, I think it's me. I think a lot of it is me. I think.
You know, it's like you said with the mafia, you know, they can be enemies, but they can still, you know, they'll respect someone for being a good killer or whatever. And it's sort of the same thing. I think that they, you know, kind of respect that we're not being led around by the, you know, the nose, and that we're thinking for ourselves. But at the same time, it's like we're a bit of a pain in their ass. Is what it seems like. They definitely don't want to help us or let us sort of run free, but they kind of, yeah, you can do your thing, but as long as, you know, you
keep us in
not
check.
too loud, you know, just all these souls, don't turn too many away from us, you know.
Channel problems. You got to be. I've had so many videos deleted just for nothing in the last month. It's crazy. Maybe half a dozen of my old channels, just random videos. Don't even know what I said in them. Flat Earth ones. So just gone. Sorry, we deleted this. I think to myself, I got a hard drive with them on. I should check out what I actually said, what they don't want out there.
And that's another thing about the whole business thing is, you know, YouTube and you know, Twitter, all these platforms that are booting, you know, but especially YouTube, they're booting off these massive channels. These channels that bring, you know, millions and millions of people to their platform, and they're just destroying the channels. So they're literally just cutting, because as their audience goes down, you know, people aren't going to want to advertise with them because they're like, well, you know, what's your audience? You can't give us demographics of who they are. You're cutting everyone off. So literally they're destroying their business for this. So it just shows you that money and business isn't what's going on here. If they will just destroy a multi-billion-dollar business and multiple businesses just to their agenda, clearly money doesn't mean anything. It's not what's going on here.
Agreed. People bouncing like Joe Rogan.
Information guy.
Yeah, it's just like, what? You know, biggest podcast in the world, and they didn't offer him any money to keep him on board. It just makes no sense. It's not business. It's not. It's something else. It's us. It's us. Just keep talking and keep watching. Yeah. Where else are they going to get the demographic, like you just said, of what's going on? They get it from the truther community. They're going to know because we're on the cutting edge of this, you guys. So where else are they going to go? There is nowhere else in this realm they're going to go. Think about it. Go and have a look. It's all just repeated bullshit. Not discovered properly, organically by us lot. Think about it. So it's sure it's there. They're going to look at it, you know, to work out what we're thinking. You know, what's making us tick. What is our goals really? What's the prize that they really seek? You know, these people are going to win. These people seem like they've won, sort of thing going on. I think that's what's going on. Yeah, it's everything since the flat Earth. You know, what a revelation that was, and then everything about the history. And then everything that's been happening in the last year, and then boom, pandemic, civilization closed for seemingly ever. Yeah, right. Can't make this up.
I mean, the whole thing, you know, could be the whole thing could just be made up because, you know, obviously there's the Age of Aquarius and all this kind of stuff, but, you know, I know about the precession of the equinox and that, but I can't prove that. That could be another story for us, really, for, you know, for as much as we know.
Yeah, man.
You know, the whole thing could have been manufactured, you know, for whatever, so they can have a false reset, or so they can, I don't know,
I can
get rid of the non-thinkers.
Well, the three of us have looked through tens of thousands of old photos, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that the buildings that make it through a reset, the last ones to go, are your government buildings and one other building that I think of, and that is these asylums. And they're always on the outside of town, right?
Yeah.
Now think about what's happening now, and if they were to take out mass populations, who's taking them out? Government. And where is your last stop going to be? It would be, well, an asylum, right?
Yeah.
And isn't that what we see?
Yes.
In these old photos? And so whoever's hired to knock buildings down as the people go away to hide the fact that there were people there, well, you know, by the time they get down to just the government buildings and the asylum, those people knocking the things down are the last to go. And, you know, that would make sense, as macabre as it is.
No, it would make sense. It would. Yeah, they were designed for reset in mind, they were. Especially the government buildings. No doubt about it. I thought it last night anyway. Thought exactly that. I was looking into living architecture and the spell put in these buildings by Freemasons to activate like some sort of spiritual charge that makes the building living. You know, did you see that last night I was talking about? Just craziest stuff in this book I found.
Yeah, I saw a bit of that.
Yeah, it's about activating buildings. You know, making them, like I said, living, and a manifestation of reality through a key, which is a word or a sound or a rhythmical vibration. Now, I got to thinking about the bells then. You know, there's a big thing with the bells, isn't there, guys? You know, in the campanology, they always had bell towers. Think how many bell towers were in Bologna, guys. It was Manhattan for bell towers. And the Tsar bell in Russia is cracked with bullshit narrative behind it. And the Liberty bell, which is also another giant bell, is also cracked, you know, continents away, with another bullshit narrative behind it around the same time. So I think there was something bigger or more important going on with the bells, you know, as a whole.
One of my ancestors helped hide the Liberty Bell. That's
Wow.
in now I don't know why, I don't know what the big deal was about it, but it's something that
maybe set at that tone or that vibration, you know, but maybe this is why they cracked in the first place. This vibration is set to cause a ripple or an earthquake everywhere in this realm. You know, it's a resetting thing. You know, when in World War II, the bells of Britain were kept quiet until El Alamein, first victory for England, and then they had all of the bells in Britain ringing on the churches. It was supposed to have sounded fantastic. I have never heard this in my life, and there's thousands of church bells in Wales. At one time, they played them all of them in unison. They must have been just a heavenly melody in the air or something in the past. Something more going on with the bells anyway, I really do think.
What if Martin, the ringing of all the bells, or I was just going to say, what if the ringing of all the bells caused the end of the war?
Maybe. I'm just saying it. Maybe more in it. I think there's something about it. They used to call us in from school.
I was thinking about the 440 to 32 change the frequency. Did that crack the bells? And were bells, instead of being something that with you know, the bit in the middle, whatever that's called, were they just more something that were to resonate a sound?
Yeah,
you know,
I think it's a tech.
They're these big, they're like a speaker, right? Yeah. And you get the frequency, and they just slowly resonate. And also, yeah, they'd be pointing down
if you put in a dome,
at the floor, wouldn't they? You know, stuff. The dome. Yeah. Well, it is a dome, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, but the dome will resonate for hours and hours after. Like it could be a resonation chamber making a charge. The bell rings, like on, and then activates the dome, which got all the cables going through it. So even maybe, you know, at 6 o'clock, ring the bell, and that charges it to the next bell ring into the dome. Because resonation in the dome lasts for hours and hours. I wonder if that could be it.
Resonance and energy.
Yeah. Goes through the bell, causing resonation. You know, like the resonation chamber in the center of the Pyramid of Giza. You know, the singing chamber constantly resonates. and set along those lines, perpetually. Like Tesla code 369. Maybe that's the code. Maybe that's
369.
Blue Strike Y.
What does 369 mean?
They used to teach in school.
I mean, it's, well, I do know what it means.
Well, I think it's the only clue that there's.
Have you seen Marco Rodin's work? Have you seen Marco Rodin's work with the Rodin coil, the 369?
Yeah.
That's very interesting stuff.
Mind-blowing.
And that's free energy as well, isn't it? That's free energy, so.
Yeah, forever and ever.
Which is interesting, because that's for the difference between the Rodin coil and a normal coil is it's got 3 windings. It has positive, negative, and like one that's what he calls it ether, doesn't he? And is that maybe what we're missing when we're looking at these domes and cathedral? Is that what we're missing with the energy system? Is there?
Yes.
Well, obviously we're missing the ether connection, or because if you try and look at a system as a positive negative system, a 2-way system, but it's a 3-way system, it's going to be.
Yeah, the ether, that's something that they did try to suppress, or they have suppressed.
I was thinking about the ether this morning. It was bonfire night in Britain. We had all these really loud explosions. And I kind of thinking, well, they're uncomfortable and they're not nice. And in wars, it's all about bangs and explosions. And what they do, essentially, is they interfere with the ether. These are like shocks to the ether. And I kind of thinking the bangs and explosions are somehow interfering with the ether, mediating between it or something, bringing bad energies. Because these are like, they don't need bombs for destruction. We know that. It's all about the fear of the bang, the explosion. And then we're celebrating in the Phoenician system. Everyone needs to create a bang. Are they really that fascinating? Are they really that cool? They're not. They're like, whoa, that was loud, man. So I think there's something creates a disturbance in the ether, these bangs and explosions, especially battlefields. It shreds people's nerves to shred smithereens. Does this explosions, with battle fatigue, etc. So I think there's something deeper going on with that.
Well, they used to call PTSD, they used to call it shell shock.
Jeez.
Yeah, good point.
And it's disturbance.
And, everyone's only born with 2 fears, right? Loud noises and falling. So why do we go and watch loud noises in the sky when it's one of the fears we're born with?
Yeah, exactly my point. See what they're doing? And it does create something in the ether. I felt it. It's just like, the whole ether shakes, doesn't it? You get the sound wave and everything else.
Yeah, it does. So, definitely changes the energy that you feel when you think about it. Those, fireworks shows and that, for sure.
Do you know how many paranormal experiences was talked about on the battlefield of the First World War? Missing regiments like the King's Guards that went into a fog bank and disappeared off the face of the earth. The Turks said they never arrived. People witnessing friends, people witnessing people carrying them off the no man's land, and there was their dead friends. They'd be laying in the trench later. So many paranormal. I think with these explosions and interferes with the realm, I think it creates like something between a bad realm and this, and I think it starts to, with these explosions en masse, make it all pour through, and which creates and get in men's head panic and creates the ability for destruction and carnage.
Yeah. So like it creates like a rip in the fabric, so that people or entities from a different dimension can see in, but at the same time it does it, and they're having a war, everyone's fearful, so they can feed basically on the fear in that.
That's it. Yeah, I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, it's amazing how long they've had rockets in warfare, because what is the point of the rockets? What did they really do? They lit up the sky and they made a bang. That's what, like I was talking about missiles, and to me, missiles, they've been in warfare for a long time. They've always been the same thing. It's kind of like a firework. I mean, obviously, there's the destructive aspect of it. I think a lot of what they've sold us as the accuracy and the destruction of guided missiles is overstated, but for the most part, they're like fireworks. They burn for a couple minutes, maybe a little bit more than that, and they go off in the distance and blow up. And it's not as precise as they would say. I found this. I tried to find the original rocket. I found a Chinese document of a multi-stage rocket of pretty large size. I think it was at least maybe 15 or 20 feet tall. So like 3 or 4 meters tall, multi-stage. And it was about, I think it was from the year 500 or something like that. It could be 1500 or 500. I don't know, but very old. Yeah, it was extremely old.
Well, there's stories from China, like back then, of them circumnavigating the globe and flying around and all types of stuff. And then when was it? Like, well, we don't know what the date was, I guess. But then they had an emperor in China who burnt every single book in the country, like wiped out the whole history. So we don't know. And how many book burnings have there been? I mean, what's that all about, right? That's just telling us, Yeah. We're cleaning the slate.
Amazon, when they started their book thing, they had to name it Kindle. And they have the Kindle and the Fire.
Oh, yeah. Burn the books.
Oh, I don't see that.
Swines in your face.
Jesus.
It's all in the language. It's all in the words, spelling.
We know this. God. And every time you break one, it goes away. I know. I love that. Etymology is fascinating.
And this is the scary thing about the internet. The internet's great, but if we're losing all our books and everything's online, then they need to switch, flick a switch and it all goes instantly. All the information's gone. So is that part of? Because I always wonder why they let the internet go and why it got introduced to it. Because it's obviously given us so much power and such, sort of scope to, evolve our knowledge. But so I've always wondered why they gave it to us. There's got to be some secondary nefarious reason. We know what they're like.
Watch us.
Or is it something that's just it's always been there and too many people found out how to tap into it? I don't know.
I think we've had the internet before. I think we've had all this before. One of the things about the year 1850 is that we had the printing press. We had all these modes of communication that should have easily made it so you can trace history back before 1850 in a continuous way. But wherever I look, whether it's weather data, something so simple as, was it a hot day or a cold day? There are people who track that their whole lives. How hard would it be to find a number of people around an area where you could take the data and track and trace it back before 1850? But you can't. It's almost something from that simple to like the price of grain or anything.
Photography turns up like 1840s and 1850 is supposed to be established. Like they can't take a photograph before that point. Why? So they don't show us the world that was there.
Right. Right. So many different things. Like even I looked at stair steps. That you go anywhere in the world and you have the same ratio, but that was invented, they say, in 1860. And how could something go that long and not be figured out? Chimneys were not figured out until after 1850. Can you believe that? Before 1850, chimneys were all different. The way fireplaces were used was not really standard.
Yeah, agreed.
They had collapsing fireplaces because they were using them wrong. People started using them wrong. because you have to have a stove inside or use it for something else, a cold air return or something.
Yeah.
But lighting a fire bare it doesn't, first of all, it doesn't heat your home very well.
No.
Second of all, you have chimney fires and they were causing the collapses and things like that. It's like, well, how could people be so silly?
You sent a little boy down the chimney to clean it in Victoria.
Yeah, they're figuring everything out. It's like
chimney.
Yeah. It's the perfect job.
The orphan trained children.
Yeah. First job, get into the paper mill.
But how is it that every aspect of the buildings are perfect? Like every aspect of these buildings is perfect, but they couldn't work out the chimneys. They just fill with, soot and dust and start fires and the bathrooms. They forgot how to put bathrooms in, obviously. But
yeah. What do you guys think about that? I mean, honestly, the bathrooms. I mean,
wow.
Now, let me tell you, my grandmother, her parents came from the old world, from Eastern Europe, and the way their culture was, there was a couple of things that were interesting. First of all, they were very elegant, and second of all, they thought to have a bathroom inside of a home was disgusting.
I don't buy
that. She preferred an outhouse.
Have you seen the houses?
Culturally.
Though? In Britain, we had these massive Tartarian 3-story, beautiful properties. And I was working over the back from one. And a guy would come out of his back door, go down the end of the garden, right, in horrible weather, okay, sit in a green, rotted wooden shed with the door open. I don't think it had a door. Go to the toilet whilst chatting to us up on the scaffolding in his newspaper. Very pleasant.
Well, there are those are like latrine outhouses. But
that's
have you
what they
seen?
were.
But have you seen these elegant, like in New York City, in Central Park, one of the areas that remains intact, it goes underground. I think that was a bathroom.
A lot of public toilets, beautifully ornate around, the late Victorian era, with the railings all the way around, wrought iron. All gone.
Yeah, it's like two winding staircases that go down. Men, women. It goes underground. I've seen it in almost all these cities. It's one of the things that tends to remain.
One left in Cardiff, but we used to have them everywhere, and there's just one. It's exactly like you just said: men, women, litter, Paris looking. But yeah, what's going on with the toilet? So nobody needed to go. You must have had 20 people occupying these big 3-story buildings with the maids and the cutlery, kitchen staff.
I think they were healthier. I think they didn't have to go. It's like, the closer the bathroom is to like the bed, I think is a sign of how desperately ill somebody is. And I think it's a sign of how sickened we are because we're poisoned all these different ways.
Well, cleanliness, washing. Queen Victoria was said to have bathed once a month because it wasn't popular to be bathing all the time with Victorians. So no cleanliness. Yeah, they don't want a toilet in the house.
Well, define cleanliness though, because when the Native Americans were talked about in some of those early writings that seem a little bit more authentic that I read, the Westerners were marveling at how good they looked and how good they smelled when these people didn't bathe. They didn't do what we do, which is wash off natural oils and things like that. But to not be rank, they would coat themselves with certain oils and herbs and whatever methods they used. It worked. Their skin was just a golden sheen color to it. They looked, smelled, and seemed healthy and good. And the Europeans couldn't understand how that could be. But I think some of these cultural norms, like what's being forced on us now with the mask, it's not healthy. but it's being linked to being civilized. It's being linked to caring about other people. It's being linked to being somebody who's out and about around town, somebody who works, somebody who is a mover and shaker. They would have that. The president wears it, this type of stuff. And it's like clothing, if you're, depending on the climate you're in, you shouldn't have to need to wear clothing except to cover up your privates, unless you want your privates public, but there's a lot of stuff that goes along with the clothing. It's just a taxation on your time and everything. It doesn't do you any favors. So I think just how everything's backwards, I think a lot of it has to do with that. And when you look at the reset, just recently post reset, the clothing that everybody wears, it's like a uniform.
Weird.
It's weird. It's like, what I say about it is, it's like everybody's dressed for a funeral on a day that is kind of like early spring, kind of chilly.
Black for the men, many layers for the women. They must be just sweating,
Well, or was the climate different, or was it just all staged, or what the hell's going on?
Well, I staged. I'm in that mind. They black the skies out for some reason with the vanilla skies. What's in the sky? It's just like, it does feel film setty when we look at San Francisco. I think they're switched. I think that's definitely a thing. I think they're switched. I think we see they say the destruction comes 3 days after this footage of San Francisco on Market Street. I think it is before, and they're showing us the reset, and movies go back that far, and they're just, giving you a little wink or rubbing it in. So I think photography is a key to it all as well, guys. I found some Byzantine images, and I can't even get my head around it. I study them, I look at them close. These are photographs. They can't be anything else. They can't be artworks. They are photographs. They're people. So, and these are supposed to be like, from, 1700s, but of the Byzantine era. I was just like, how is this? Photographs. I'd have to show them. They are just mind-blowing. I can't get my head around it at all.
Well, but, yeah. In town where I live, we have the Toledo Museum of Art. You guys may not have heard of it, but it's a superb, world-class museum.
Cool.
And there are works by Vermeer, Monet, and all kinds of. It's really a classy museum, befitting a city of a much larger size. Anyway, there are these portraits in there that absolutely blow my mind. And I did this thing where I had to rethink. I just had to rethink, what is photography? What would it look like? What would it be like if you started over in your mind? What would a picture be? What's a good picture? Now, we think of megapixels, we think of clarity, and what is, quote, true to life to us isn't necessarily the final word on what is actually true to life, or what it could be to somebody else. So I thought, maybe there's a printing process or a photography process whereby you make your photo, print, or portrait in a way the painting is what we think it is, where we have people who are artists and they use a paintbrush and paint something, and they can exactly match something else, but what they're doing is they're back engineering into it their own way. But what we may be looking at in some cases is something that was made automatically, like how we would make a photograph. And the reason I say that is the old masters, some of them did things that I guess people can replicate now, but I don't see a lot of people doing it. And what I'm talking about is like the layering and how they will do things to like whiskers.
Yes.
On a face. They put in colors that are counterintuitive underneath layers of somewhat translucent paint to bring out this depth that is really astounding to see in person. And
some of it looks impossible. Some of it looks impossible.
Yeah, the detail, the perspective, it's all
Look at
so
the Van
good.
Eycks. The Van Eyck, I go on my wall behind there, but it's the change in light. You know, how can an artist, capture that moment? Light changes absolutely constantly. It wouldn't be the same 1 second to the next on like a steel or a brass lampshade in this one painting. It would change constantly. So how's he capturing that one moment when the light is there then? How can you do that? He's like froze time to that moment with the light. It's just something else going on. I think you might be right there. Another tech.
It could just be photography, but a different type. Yeah, technology, a different way of capturing the image, a different way of producing it, and that's what we call paintings.
Yeah. Turning it into an art form, but they're still real people.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have people who can draw photorealistically now. Not very many, but.
Agreed. Yeah, I've seen a few. But these, for a Renaissance period, for the technology available, in terms of red ochre, etc., these things are phenomenal. Glints in the eye, sheen, like the water on an eye, they catch out in there, and just mind-blowing stuff.
Yeah. And you go back 100 years earlier, and nobody knew how to do it. Supposedly, I don't buy it. Or all the artists in the entirety of the whole world who can do that quality of work all happen to live in Vienna at the time.
Yeah, I think they're all like probably actors, and these are reset paintings that they kept over in archives and stuff. I think when they inventors, I think what they do with inventions is I think they go through an inventory of what's left over from the last reset, and they say, go through that, whatever you come up trumps with is an invention, and they just go through an inventory of last reset inventions, what they can make sense of, what they can reverse engineer. Painful process, I should imagine. But this trickle of technology in the last few years has been pretty mind-blowing. From 1900 to now, from the Wright brothers apparently to space rockets, 1969, 60 years. Mm-hmm. Nobody's asking any questions about these massive jumps in technology, though, and population and everything.
Well, that's what I was saying earlier, is they have the population exponentially increase. It's a problem. I think, the reset idea it's not as simple as we think, where, okay, it's a terrible thing. You have to consider the implications of what if, and I'm not saying I agree with it at all, but I'm saying that I think it's worth considering, what's the alternative? You know what I mean? Like, I remember thinking this about Iraq back when they were selling that idea. I remember thinking, okay, if Saddam Hussein's a bad ruler, what makes you think that it would be easy to rule over there? You might find yourself acting the same way if you had to maintain control of that area. It may be that difficult. If you, like, I was a teacher for a while. There are some students, there's some classes that they'll change you. They'll test your morality. And it's, you have to sympathize a little bit with having to control something, and so looking at the exponential growth, it's something to consider.
Definitely, and the whole thing is, we're just energy. Death isn't a finite thing or anything, so we might just be looking at it all wrong. It could just be a game. When you die, it's just like you just start again. I don't know, but this whole death thing, we're kind of taught that it's this bad thing, but is it? Maybe they're doing a favour freeing people from here. We just don't know, do we? It's we're sort of stuck here.
Could be reset. Could have been taken out, raptured, and put into another dimension where there's a pandemic going on.
Yeah, it looks pretty bad. It looks bad, though. I prefer life so far. but not, not this new normal. I prefer the old abnormal personally. But
I don't know if I'd want the old world back. I've considered this. That was bullshit too.
There's a whole point of, is this to teach us that, that we don't need authority, that we need to stop following these people, that we need to stop, that clearly the MSN are lying to us, because this is all so in our face now. Is that maybe it, that this is more of a waking up process? But obviously the demons are, not happy with it, and they're in their death throes doing whatever they can. But in the end, I mean, people are waking up, and it's kind of like, we know with a lot of the humans on the planet at the moment, you really need to smash them over the head, with the truth before they'll recognise it sometimes. Is that what's going on here? Is it sort of just full terrible on retard just to wake people up, to get them through, maybe, to get more people through to wherever we're going, I don't know, onto the right timeline, or I don't know. These timelines are freaking me out.
Feels just like that. That's what's going on. I guess we'll all find out. Sit back and relax, like you said. It's more what's everyone worried about and scared about anyway. They don't even know what death is. Nobody does. So, and if you think of it in terms of simulation, what does it even matter? Yeah? Or one room into another. Doesn't matter. Got to get it right.
I think if we've learned anything, it's all a show. We've really got to start sort of reassessing what's going on here, and I think that's the lesson, right? You can listen to the news and fall down the drain, or you can sort of get something out of this and start thinking for yourself and not buying into the crap.
Yeah, it's surprising they haven't blown it. Are they going to blow it? Because they're just making it so obvious that even the most, stupidest of people will work out that there's nothing going on. I think that maybe massively, everyone's been lied to. They're doing it on purpose. It's almost as if they're just doing it on purpose. Crazy laws, everything that we held precious and true in this place, taken away. Everything. For the masses, it's their sports, people's religions are messed with. Everything's just every aspect of our life. Can't visit here, can't go here, lockdown here, lockdown. Wow. But like you said, the food keeps trickling in. It's weird.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking about petrol too. Like, imagine, think of all the infrastructure and industry behind producing petrol and getting it to the petrol station. That's still going.
I thought about that as well.
Well,
I think there's less people.
This is like you keep thinking, it keeps coming up. I don't know if you think about it, but this idea of the simulation or whatever, because like the airports and the fuel and the planes, these rabbit holes you go down, it doesn't add up after a while, and there's never an explanation. The fuel that would have to go to some of these airports, do you ever see these pipelines, or do they ever maintain them? Do they ever go down for maintenance, or they never bring trucks in? What the hell's going on? And like, I don't know if you can see the screen, but these this population graph, how does this make sense?
That's ridiculous, man.
You get to 1850 and, we got people.
It's been my thing all the way along, is this population growth. It's just a clear marker of a reset. All these people and seemingly no information or will before it. And if it is, it's really sketchy. So that's a massive alarm call. And this says it all. I don't think there's that many people.
Yeah, and they use wars as an excuse of all these people dying. But even, have you guys gone back and looked at like the number of deaths like in World War II?
Yeah, less than World War I, but not civilian-wise with the Holocaust. But it's only like minute percentages of world population anyway.
Yeah.
Germany's population increased after 1945 because it was all baby making. So, no, it doesn't. surplus population is brilliant for industry and for invention. You know, drives things forward a little bit, or seemingly to, but really backwards. Wars are something else completely. See where they're needed though.
Yeah,
where they
pushes them to release the tick that they've got.
Well, yeah,
but it's like
I don't know that
I was just going to say, when you mentioned before, you know, the Wright brothers in 1912, was it 1909? And you look at planes from the 1930s, like literally 20 years later, and they're proper planes with engines, fully metal, but yet, you know, 20 years earlier, it was literally a bicycle with a bit of wood tacked to it.
Oh, man. 12 years after they're machine gunning battles and have dogfights, and 12 years after their invention. Yeah. So makes no sense.
Yeah.
But we know
and you've got to understand, like before they can make a plane, they've got to make the factory. You know, they've got to make all the parts, all the machines that can make the parts. They've got to design it all. I mean, is that even possible? You know, it's not even possible, I don't think.
It is crazy how this infrastructure keeps going, though, isn't it? How, you know, everything keeps ticking over at a loss for, you know, so long, all year. We know how it works, you know, they print more money and keep it going for X amount of time, because it's all rubbish anyway, fiat currency. They just prove that. You know, what, 20% of all the money that's ever been printed has been this year. Great. So, it's not about that. They just, you know, they got no worry for money. They're just dishing it out like there's no tomorrow, giving it to everyone. You know, don't worry, we'll give you the money. Don't worry, your business will be fine. Don't worry, everything's going to be fine. But yeah, sticky plaster on everything.
Is it just? Oh God. It's just. It just looks clearly like there's two different agendas going on. There's two different things being put. I guess it's really up to us to make the choice of what we're gonna, you know, believe or follow or act on or whatever you want to say.
I am got a clue.
You know,
whatever it is,
choice. You know, going inside and making a real choice.
That's where the work needs to be done, the inner work, I reckon, at this stage. But yeah, it's not what they're telling us on the telly. The telly tells no truths at all. Never did. So it's not that. So it's something else. So they're distracting the whole of civilization to keep our minds off of what's really going on. It's something else. Secret. Everyone's trying to work it out. It's not the New World Order. They've been here all along.
Yeah, it's not new.
It's not new. Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, I got this one. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. This
yeah.
One.
So this is 1915, and check this out. This I think this is the part where they fly this plane, which is not a bi-wing. I don't know if you can hear it. The tornado sirens are going off here.
Is that what
that really?
Is? Wow. Should you
the innocent
basement? Wow. What are you supposed to do when you hear that then?
Well, yeah, not confuse it with the fire alarm, I guess.
What, you don't take cover, get under the table, or, you know, anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? Duck and.
You go in your basement. But they've changed it. Now it talks to you sometimes.
Spooky.
Yeah, that didn't make me extremely comfortable.
I know.
Because what are they going to say? I'm looking for the part where they fly. I don't know if this video has it then.
I think it's at the end of the Buffalo one.
Well, I remember they were flying it was a monoplane, they called it, and it was in San Francisco because it was flying over the Golden Gate.
No, I seen one as well. He flew and they had him on in night vision.
Yeah, here. Great. Yeah, they had yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I seen it. Yeah, it's mad.
How is that? I mean, I overlaid in a video, I overlaid footage of an air show from 2017, I think it was.
Wow.
And it looked exactly the same.
Yeah, that's moving as well, isn't it? Whew.
Yeah. This is 1915. When did the Wright brothers, was it?
1906, so it's like, it's like a decade after they're doing these things.
Yeah.
They'll be fighting with machine guns on them.
Yeah. And just like they do with the expositions, here's technology that's really good. And then they had a fake crash, death, and whatever. Or they really crashed them, but whatever the case, everybody had to know about it and why that technology would not be, that we're not ready for that, that type of thing. But it's what I think is some people, there was a memory of it. There was an exposure of it. They were hiding the stuff. And then they have the exposition where they show you the stuff. Like, okay, your grandparents aren't lying. Yes, this exists. But then there's some tragedy or some narrative about why it has to go away,
Yeah. Like the Hindenburg with airships.
Mm.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's all too dangerous. Got to get rid of it now. It's all for your benefit, guys. All for your benefit.
Everything about these expositions and world fairs has a purpose in my mind. For example, Franz Ferdinand was featured at one of these. It might have been this one. Like, who gives a shit?
I know McKinley was killed at an opening of one.
Yes, and no doubt it was on a stage. It was literally theater, like Lincoln's assassination took place literally on the stage. The booth, not John Wilkes' booth, not just him, but Lincoln's booth was on the stage.
I know. It's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can't make it up. Wow, this puzzle's crazy how it all falls in together, isn't it?
Yeah. But it's fun to show this to someone who hasn't really looked at it. Oh, there's your bell.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Oh. Liberty Bell. It's a hell of a crack for such a thick bell, isn't it? Exactly like the.
That looks like somebody took a router to it.
Yeah, a cannonball would.
It's a very clean crack, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
There's one way that cannonballs make sense. Have you guys thought about this? Like rail guns.
Well, yeah, I have. Or electrified as well, while they're coming out like railgun velocities. That would work brilliantly. Yeah, I think that might be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would do it. Yeah, something going on with that. That's a definite clue. They like to wave their clues in your face, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the military presence is always there. It's like, I looked at the old gravestones in this area, and it seems like a lot of people were military. Like, if you weren't military, you weren't here. They say, well, that's because it was dangerous with natives and blah, blah, blah. But I don't necessarily believe that.
I was watching them Civil War ones before, wondering about it and thinking, hang on a minute, if they were 20 in, say 1865 when they're all wrapped up, then, this is a 20. They must be like 90. They look really well and fit. Look at them marching. I couldn't get my head around it. But now thinking about it, I think about the actors. I did wonder about that, though. Wow.
And yeah, it seems like everyone's the same age so many times.
I know. Or clones. There's hardly anyone different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody looks the same. It's a bit like that nowadays.
Oh, here, this staged fire.
Wow.
Look at the photography. Wow, this is great.
Crisp.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's oldified. You know what I'm talking about? They kept doing that even up through the 1980s. They oldified footage. everything to do with the moon landing is oldified. Like, I mean, like the footage surrounding it, like the control room and things like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to do a video with a comparison because you had TV shows like Get Smart or Batman made before the moon landing that are as crisp, clear in color, you know, as anything today. I mean, the resolution is almost HD.
Yeah, Batman's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, so they had the ability, but
no, they had to record the most important moment in human history off a screen of a television then before they show it to humanity. So, third hand, a grainy old black and white image.
yeah.
Terrible. Roll back 60, 70 years though to doing this.
Yeah.
Wow. I
like,
know. Look at that.
The fountains are something extremely interesting to me when you talk about like extremely large people. The fountains, like what's the point of these higher up fountains? You know, it's not for horses to drink. They couldn't get to it. You know what I'm saying?
It revitalizes and activates, you know, the energy. It revitalizes and energizes people, doesn't it? You know what it's like after a shower, and standing by waterfalls. Anyway, the sound, the whole thing is revitalizing, energizing.
Yeah.
Reacts to the ions, apparently. Well, that's freaky, isn't it? Why they stick that in?
Yeah.
And what's with the German in America? The kind of German. Weird. Yeah, look at this one. And they got the classic kid as a classical Greek. Give the kid a sword. Is it real? Yeah. Very irresponsible. Just push him in the well.
He's gonna fall down the well, yeah.
Yeah, by head off a seagull. Fly away. Wow, how weird. But that's like the classical world. It is. I posted last night about this book I found saying that Atlantis, or the Phoenician world, was in America before Europe. And they took over Europe then, but in America first. That's where the Bible happened and everything. Noah's Ark came down. Europe was just islands at the time, they say.
Yeah, I wasn't on board as much with the idea of the Phoenician stuff, but it's making a lot more sense when you look at the language and they talk about land or sea, even in like international law being written today and things like that. It comes up a lot.
It's the Greeks, it's the classics, it's the Titans, it's the Atlanteans. I put an article last night, I linked it on my channel, just stating that, you know, they had exactly the same gods and goddesses, and they all spell back to the same, you know, central source. So it is, they're the same people. They're the same practice. It's the same civilization. You can see it. There's no difference between Carthage or Rome or Greece or Troy. These are all identical places, and these biblical themed places. Same arches, same massive construction, same columns, same Corinthian tops, same world.
Yeah, and Campbell, I noticed you said something about the word anchor or the symbol, the ankh, and then you have anchor and how it links with Phoenician. And then I thought of news anchors. Like, why would you call them an anchor?
Maritime term.
Yeah.
All our lifetimes.
Good point. Well, we call an anchor.
And news is north, south, east, west, just rearranged a little bit.
Oh, yeah, so it is.
And so it's to navigate. It's to navigate the talking points and anchor the mind and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's Phoenician, the language. Yeah.
So it is what I missed.
Just on that too, I was just thinking, you were talking about the mud flood, like, you know, got law of the land, right, which is the people, and then we had a flood apparently, and you know, then suddenly it's all maritime law, right? But this flood came in, new laws, new society, new things to think. All maritime came with the water.
Yeah, maritime laws. everything associated with birth, at birth, out of a canal, birthing canal, and you know, every aspect of our life, you know, is aspects of each, and their venices and their main plots.
So that's the flood, isn't it? Really, that's the flood. Like the law and everything else is as much as the flood as the water, because it brought all the change with it.
Yeah, I think that we might get dunked.
Well, they've been doing predictive programming about New York having a huge wave come in for ages.
It might not come in, it might be us dropping.
Yeah, good.
Or lifting, vice versa.
Yeah.
Could have altitude sickness, everybody. The thing is, if they wanted to really reset massive amounts of population, you can just tweak something in the water that only hits certain people, and get rid of them that way overnight. But they're not doing that, are they?
No, that's the thing. It wouldn't be that hard to reduce the population if that's really what they were after.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, you know, selection makes more sense. Some sort of test, you know, they're giving us the tools.
Yes, yeah. What side are you going to choose?
Maybe they're intrigued. Maybe they're intrigued to see how far we're going to take this and where we're going with it. Maybe they want us to do it. Maybe they don't know.
Yeah.
But leave them. Let them see what they find out.
We've been stuck in here for millennia.
Yeah,
we almost cracked it.
Is this a diorama, do you think, here? The way the camera moved? Did that seem like
pivot, smooth.
Did that seem like a diorama? I don't know.
This is the other thing, right?
Wow, yeah, I see me.
I think it's them tearing it down.
Could be.
But it seems kind of like a diorama. I don't see any people moving around.
No, I see what you're saying. And then they just stretched out and gone along the picture.
Yeah. Like here, there are people moving around. And
cool.
This is after they've torn it all down.
Yeah, I've seen the Bay Area after. It's crazy, isn't it?
That's like.
But the ads returned that they left in place.
And they're using like an old trick. Yeah, everyone's still there. So they're filming a projected picture.
It's like them places where they make movie sets, doesn't it?
Yeah. So here, there's nothing moving.
No.
It's a diorama, I think. Toy Town.
Yeah, the tree. Yeah, it was just
nothing happening at all.
It's all in focus too.
Yeah, it is. And then it goes to a live shot, moving.
Yeah. Tricky. And clearly they're filming a projection. Why would you do that? That's a great way to hide artifacts and things. Yeah.
Very good point. That classical world. Look at this. It's just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, these white cities, they were like the seats of government. So many people in uniforms and.
It looks like it might be a globe or something. Oh, there's Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the ways I know that the whole idea of presidents and everything is nonsense is they never have a hot babe, ever.
Yeah.
If you're that high up.
Let me have a think about one. Yeah, I know. Even JFK, she wasn't on that, not really. Thing.
Yeah.
They had really bad wives. In fact, look at Nancy Reagan. She was horrifying.
Barbara Bush.
He should have stayed with Jay Weinman.
Bush.
No, don't. I'll stick a little in my mouth.
It's because they're all men, though, isn't it?
I think it might be. Well,
Yeah,
what of our? Let's not mention the one now. Can't even say her name. Eastern European one.
They did a portrait gave her 6 fingers. Did you see that?
No. I've seen some crazy videos just lately, though, concerning that. No, I haven't seen that.
Yeah. Yeah, these electric cars amaze me.
Wow, look at that one.
But look at this guy, the way he runs up there. It's just
straight in the middle. Yeah.
No sense, you know, the way they walk in front of trains and things like that.
Suicidal mode.
It's nonsense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like they're in a world they don't understand. They don't like little kids, you know. Little kids run out on the road. It's how these guys are.
Yeah, they had to figure everything out after 1850, for sure.
America didn't join the war till, what was it, about 1916, or just towards the end, one of the last year, I think, 1917. They went over. But that was they didn't want to go anyway. I think the Lusitania sort of twisted their arm to go to the war, but they really didn't want to go there. I don't blame them either.
Yeah, why would they?
Lusitania, wasn't it the Titanic?
No, it was the Lusitania. Yeah, it was still a big loss of life, and they blamed a torpedo and brought America into the war. But it's just another, false flag, like they all start.
Do you think they tried and failed to start something like with North Korea? And I think they're failing at some of the things they're trying. Like the whole racial war stuff that they've tried, I think it's pretty much failed, Like in my town, they had staged protests, but other than that, if they're not paying people, no one's going to act upset and march and do all that nonsense, And here they're trying to figure things out, like how to do a race. They don't know anything. They're like, it's like a bunch of children trying to do it.
And the Keystone Cops, man.
That's the replacement NPCs. But yeah, like the whole left-right paradigm in the US at the moment is just bizarre, and everything that the left tries just seems to collapse, doesn't it? It's just like everything. They hardly even get things launched, and people have just exposed it, and they're like, "Oh crap!" So now what do they do? All they can do is censor everything and not let anyone information out there.
And
so that's what makes me feel like it is. The bad entities do seem to be like in their death throes. They're just like the witch and Wizard of Oz melting, just yelling and screaming, but they're going. But they seem to they can't get anything right. They're just making lots of noise.
Yeah. Yeah. When they delete channels that have hundreds of thousands of subs because they said something for truth, it pretty much probably really jars some people awake by the tens of thousands, Seems desperate.
I think definitely
does.
Because you've got to ask yourself, there's only one explanation why they would do it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, certain topics you cannot touch upon on YouTube. You are gone.
Yeah.
Do you know, I've noticed they're all like a fascination with them all. Like, like you said, it's like the first time they'd ever seen anything. It's like everything, and they can't get it together because they're doing it for the first time or something.
Yeah.
But it is, because all of these like football associations, all this horsey caper, all of it turns out at the same time. All of these sports.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's a good
fire brigades
and stuff.
But the floats, they float.
Also,
they call them floats.
Hundreds back. hundreds.
Well, what's under there? A tank. Right, they'll be off in a couple of years to get blown to smithereens.
We're all going to join the Chinese Communist Army.
Run away to the woods.
Like fire brigades, they didn't know what to do. They were completely incompetent according to their own stories.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, you've got that right. Because it's not only incompetence; it's just the really inferior fire engines for the architecture about them. You've got like superior quality architecture, like there, and then you've got this crappy little, steam powered or whatever it is pump, and that's the most advanced you'll get. It was just rubbish.
Yeah.
All turns up around the same time as well. I looked into the Fire Boston department and its bill for the fire aft. They got given, after Boston burned to the ground, 1871, and the bill, like they got given like loads of money off the American government to like buy everything they needed. They built all of these little fire stations in every area of Boston, equipped them all out, but after the fire, of course.
Yeah.
Check that out. Inside is like wood.
Yeah, highly featured too.
The trees are really big though next to that monument. So
oh yeah.
Dreams that it's been there for time, and it looks
Huge,
like
yeah.
It looks like Rome to me. It looks like the old world, the classical world.
Mm-hmm.
You can just chuck in a couple of fake columns to make it look like it's all fake.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I think it was it was either this one or the Chicago one. They built this one building separate from the others out of, in particular, flammable wood, and then of course there was a conflagration that happened when attendance was at its peak and everybody witnessed, and they basically played out like a September event, with people jumping off the top and whatnot. However they did it, I don't know if they threw dummies off or whatever. But yeah, it's amazing how much predictive programming they were doing that far in advance. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's all a story, isn't it? And
yeah.
And the reason we know is because it's got a script. They have to write the script before they do anything, don't they? It's always written down, and before anything happens, they tell us what it is. It's all scripted.
Yeah, look at the huge, like you said, the huge amounts of money they chuck at these stars just to keep the narrative going. Impossible amounts of money, as long as they to me, I think as long as they keep singing about globes, they stick them in a song, they've landed, they'll look after them forever. Bands like Queen, who are predictively programming us, with like Under Pressure, look at the words that puts people on the streets. The whole thing is in there about reset. And Pink Floyd, all of these bands, Black Sabbath, all predictively programming these times now. So they're essential. That's why they were pushed like that and made so, massive. Yeah. So some of them weren't that so fantastic.
What are nurses and teachers and all these supposedly, jobs that are, pushing us forward to better things. Why are they always on the bottom of the heap as far as pay? And yeah, like hearts who dance around in the pub with their ass showing get millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah, football players are the worst. That really winds me up, that does. Yeah, it really winds me up. And, all sportsmen, really winds me up. All right, they can do something that different people can't, but I'm quite good at football. But, paying them all.
They have to be, because they have to get the people involved. With sport, like they have to create characters, don't they? So it becomes like a movie and people start emotionally attaching to these players. And then they got them. Then they're going to be in front of that box every weekend, man. And they got them.
A new football star and his private life. And is he this? Does he do this? Oh yeah, I guess I'm all involved. Yeah. Race drivers too. They're quite popular. What was that? I wonder if he blew away in the tornado that never hit. You had a tornado around Simon. Like little one.
Is he there? Maybe he got blown away.
He probably got blown away.
UAP?
No, I'm here. I'm here.
He's there.
I'm here. I was just looking for something. I'm looking for something to share.
I just did, but it didn't come out.
Yeah, I haven't found it yet. I'm just trying to find the one picture of a conflagration.
Oh, I got it.
Conflagration. Now, there was something that with the 1871 Chicago conflagration, there was one nearby, and there was an account of it that talked about these black orbs that were swirling around, and then they would descend on people and then explode in a huge ball of fire. It was as if they were controlled hydrogen balloons.
Right.
And something akin to like the TV show The Prisoner, where he's attacked by a weather balloon.
Yeah.
If he goes too far south, he goes, he's getting outside of his zone, and it's always to the south on the TV show. And then a weather balloon attacks him, and then he is rebirthed out by the controllers. Well, it's kind of like that, but this account about this fire that wiped out a whole town, it talked about these like intelligently controlled black orbs of kind of a large size, several meters in diameter, that would like on people descend and explode right into them.
Wow.
So I don't know if you saw that, but that was
no, I know that
all
was
happening on the same day.
No.
It was the Peshtigo event happened exactly the same time as Chicago fire.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The Peshtigo one.
Yeah, biggest event in American history. The ash fell on the Azores, mid-Atlantic. It was that big. So.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
covered that.
When the holy hand grenades, were they?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it called the American Pompeii, that town, because it got sort of vitrified and stuff? Is that the one you're looking at? Because that was in the path of the Peshtigo fire outside Chicago when I looked at. It's freaky. The American Pompeii was called the article. It's mind-blowing. Yeah, massive event. That was anomalous too. Entire forest goes up all along Lake Michigan, works its way down. Chicago goes up separately, as they say. Yeah, right, whatever. And the photographs, right, of Chicago fair going up, and the people are just standing there looking on about like feet away. If this was a real photograph, they'd be starving of oxygen and dropping dead, because this is not a reality. You can't stand close to fires that big. So they look hampered and changed them photographs. I've studied them too. Chicago fire. Chicago Exposition fire, which is a different fire than the Chicago fire. It gets complicated. This thing's been rebuilt and built down. I get so confused about it all, guys. Lifted out of the mud, buildings moved. Ugh. Chicago's a crazy one.
Yeah.
Makes it easy to remember how things were destroyed. Oh, fire. Yeah, fire. Oh, no, I never heard of that, but definitely fire.
Find a UAP?
Well, not exactly, but I found something interesting here. That
I could show you. Passing check.
Okay, here we go. So these types of buildings, what do you guys make out of these? Like, what happened here?
Is there one of the monastery up on a mountain? Yeah. What it looks like an older building that's been melted, and they've built on the top of them. But then you get the ones where the bricks literally sort of metamorphosize into the side of the mountain.
See now they meld into
which
the mountain.
Is yeah. So I mean, was that at the base maybe of what was left? Because if you think if these things have been if they're melted, they're being hit from on top, right? I mean, that's what it looks like, because it looks like they sort of flow down. So how could anything on the top have survived, if you know what I mean? So that's why it makes me think they've got to afterwards. But then with the melted bits, are they just building on top of what they, you know, was there just some melted bits left and they've just built on top of them? Or it's a weird one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's what kind of heat would it take to do that? It's just insane, really. It's yeah.
Lightning can do it.
Yeah.
A vitrify rock.
Plasma discharge. Have you guys seen any of Thunderbolt Project stuff lately?
Not lately. I only watch like necessary ones. Anything space related, I don't watch.
Yeah. Well, there is. I think I'm pretty sure they're the last 3 that went up, and the Conspiracies Are Us video when he was talking about the Liechtenstein pattern. Yeah. So this guy pretty much it's a 3-part series, and he explains how that works.
Ooh.
He shows the land. He shows how the mountains will raise up when the plasma hits and things expand. He shows the courses of the rivers, like everything. So really good series. So I mean, and plasma, a plasma arc that can create a lot of heat very quickly. That dissipates quickly, and it's just melted.
Yeah, exactly that.
And I guess arcs also hit specific points, don't they? They're not like a bomb that sort of goes blah. And that's kind of what we see. You don't things, some bits sort of melt, other bits don't look melted. But then we get cities like Sodom and Gomorrah, where the whole thing just looks like it's been.
Oh, that looks more like a targeted weapon. You can't order lightning.
So they don't look like do they? It's what?
You can't order lightning to just strike a city. It just looks like this.
If you know the right people, you can.
There's one black magician to come.
Yeah, I live in New York. But I mean, if they had all the other tech, why wouldn't they have had weapons? There's stories in the Vedas of, plasma weapons and huge things like this, wars, big ships flying around in the sky.
Fantastic.
I mean, we even get it in the religious. Have you seen all the Christian photos with all the UFOs and stuff in them?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course. In the Annunciation of Mary.
Yeah, heaps of them.
UFO in.
That one.
The light's coming from the UFO and not Gabriel. So, yeah, there's a few out there I've seen.
Yeah, and that one's really detailed. That UFO, you can zoom right in on it, and it's really detailed. But there's heaps of them. It's like, what was it, Life of Brian, where he falls into the UFO and goes out in the solar system, gets thrown back out.
Yeah, this. Can you see this? This is in Peru, the highlands of Peru. Way up on the mountains.
Is it? Is that where it is?
Yeah. Yeah, there's this guy, Brian Forrester. He goes there and finds these things. Well, I mean, the locals know about it, but some of it's really technological looking, like this thing. That's way up on a mountainside. Yeah.
It looks like it's melted into the. I was watching a video on liquefaction today, and it was showing showing cars after liquefaction that were literally half in the ground. You know, you could only see half the car, and you know, I'm wondering if that after that hardened, would that just turn into what we thought was, you know, a rock? So you see, you know, that bit of the antiquitech popping out, but the rest is actually just sort of being sunk into liquefaction mud and hardened into rock.
Yeah,
have you got, is there sexy human on there? Because I tell you what, that's like a starfall on top or something, and it's just melted. Sexy one. He does go there. He's been there. That's the wall there, the grey one.
So the thing, how did it just melt the top and the other bits?
The entire top is melted. It's just absolutely blitzed.
Yeah.
It looks like Nimrod's Hill. It's just, this thing's just gone. But you can see the antiquity and some, you know, the masonry and the shape of this, whatever it was that was there. Some giant fort on top of that. The one you can see there with the grey stones that are made fantastically. But above that, the hill above it, there's a vlog about it a few years ago. Mind-blowing, especially on Google. You can definitely see something was there. It's melted as well. Although, if I'm honest, at the time I did say liquefaction, but I didn't know too much about melting back then. But I actually stated that. Yeah, is that it? But, so what's the purpose of these walls anyway? What would be their purpose? You know, these walls.
Yeah.
And doors to nowhere, sides of mountains.
Yeah,
like it's angled.
The
dimensional gate. Yeah, I've seen it. But that could have been like maybe a room in there, and it's been mud flooded.
Yeah, I think they're impressions. It's just it's like you know, the minerals or some material fills the void. Yeah, this is the one that it really interested me because it's way up there, you know. And
what would be his purpose, do you think?
It looks like a console somehow to me, like a control board or something like that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Oh yeah, it's a complicated thing.
Yeah, it's funny how things aren't really plumb, but these are thought to be when you pour concrete. When you pour concrete, you have this could be a solid wall to start with, but the different pours that are made over enough time, it would form something kind of like this because of the way it cured. And so people think these are stones that were cut and placed like that, but that's not it. It was probably just a solid concrete wall. Yeah.
Instead of seamless joints.
So just all poured.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. Well, how long have we been talking? We could probably. Wow, look at that.
I'm still working after how many years? God. Oh yeah, that's the map, isn't it? That's like a map sort of thing of a city, isn't it?
No way, is it?
Actually, I saw that, and somebody might have been Brian Forrester, and he was pouring water into it, different coloured waters at the top to see where they went down, and they all went down like these different directions, and it sort of took different courses.
Huh.
It was really, yeah.
Cool.
It does remind me of in Calcutta, I think it was, they had these buildings that I thought were like ports or where you would buy tickets to go to a different city because they had on top of the buildings a miniature of a city. And it's supposed to just be artistic, you know, flair. But I think it was an accurate map of a different city at the time because intelligent people would do that. So, okay, I want to go to this city. There it is. I don't speak the language, but I understand.
Yeah.
That's where I want to go. And so it would make sense that way. Also because it was octagonal. And I think John Levi showed that, or I heard him say that all the cities have these octagonal booths that are nearby, like the tram lines, train lines, and things like that. They were used either for ticketing or something like that.
All right.
For travel. Yeah. There's the universality of the architecture.
Yeah, he's big into the elongated skulls, isn't he, Brian?
Yeah.
He has one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a museum there. A lot of people think that they're fake, but they didn't look fake to me when I looked at it.
I think this one was given off Lloyd Pye or something. I remember rightly. Yeah, no. Why would they have a museum if they were fake?
Then there's heaps of them. They've found them in Russia. They've found them all over the place.
I know they have. I've seen them in China too, as well. With
what do they call them? Homo capensis. They've even got a name.
Huh.
But that's the thing, and people love to say, "Oh, it's skull. What's called skull binding."
Well, yeah, it can't be that because it wouldn't increase the volume.
Well, the cracks in the head.
Well, that's the thing. I remember when I first looked into it. I think it was Brian Forrester. He just had a skull and he was pouring rice or something into him, and just said, "Look, this one's double the size." I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if they're equal size to us, then they tend to have juvenile characteristics showing that the people were indeed bigger.
That's the Ben story.
Yeah. And there's like Nefertiti. We've got Nefertiti and Akhenaten. They're both cone heads.
Well, a lot of the older photographs, they happen to have hats that would cover a cone head. I think that, like you said, about some of the photographs being older, much, much older, I agree. And one of the ways to identify those is that some of the people in the photographs not only are giants, but people who are giants almost always have the cone head shape possible with the dress that they're wearing. They have a hat that is disguising the fact that they have one of these heads.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I went through like 10 randomly selected photos and they all had it. Yeah, it was remarkable. You'll start to see it once you look for it.
It's an interesting question, you know, why who invented top hat? Like, what's the use of a top hat?
Right.
And wouldn't they be hard to keep on your head? Got windy?
They are hard to keep on your head. They really are. Yeah. I got one and it just slips and stuff. Ice pack in there, some technology, maybe the airspace creates some sort of space, something connected with thought. Some of these hats have mercury in them, felt ones treated with mercury. So mercury in some top hats, so electromagnetic properties or attracting maybe. I've been sleeping with a magnet under my pillow, guys. Yeah, helps you sleep.
Helps you sleep.
Neodymium magnet. I was reading about like the magnets in the mind, basically magnets in your nose, in your chest, and magnetic particles in your brain. So I read that you could do magnetic therapy. So I had like pure trouble getting to sleep. I put a neodymium magnet under my pillow. I was sleeping like a baby since.
Wow.
I know. Proper deep, nice sleeps with dreams and everything, proper. Instead of waking up 4 o'clock like that, awake. It's like.
That's what I've been doing. I've been waking like, I like sleep an hour and I'm up for like 3 hours and I just can't sleep.
Well, with us, we're thinking about a lot of stuff, aren't we? So I don't know.
Is that Superman? Did you just go past Superman? Scroll up a bit, UAP. Scroll up a bit. They had Superman there. Superman. Go down. Did you see him? Down on the next line. Like they've got like a Superman from the 1700s. Did you see him?
Is it further down or?
No, next Down, I think. Next line down.
Oh,
yeah, there. See?
What? Oh, it actually is.
Even Superman was around before the reset.
Something about that cape helps them fly. They all got capes, haven't they, superheroes? Something about them capes.
And you know, Superman, right? He was from where was he from? The North Pole, big crystal castle.
Yeah. Well, I think there's hidden lands for sure. Like I came across something from the north, just where roads are outlawed above at a certain latitude in Alaska. It wouldn't make sense. Like even the forestry workers themselves, they don't allow roads. Now, why would they do that? But it's just, with the northern latitude.
You just don't want going further north.
Yeah, just like with the south, it's a little different though how they do it.
No one goes there.
Yeah, no,
so here you start seeing the cone head stuff. Look at all these cone heads, potentially.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
So many.
Have you heard of Karen Huders?
Huh? Look at this.
Karen Hughes or Huders. She did a video talking about the Vatican, saying that there were heaps of cone heads in the Vatican, and that's why they wear their silly hats.
Fish hats. Yeah, fish hats.
Yeah, she's a. There's even photos of royals from what, can't remember what family, but not that long ago, and they've got like the bound cone heads. Like they've got the cone heads, but they look like they've been bound, and they're like actual royalty.
Those are the Habsburgs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, is that them? Yeah.
I think the film Coneheads.
Weird.
Astronauts to the moon.
These characters here.
Oh my god.
Someone bound his whole head.
Wedge head. I don't know, look at him. Oh, look at him with the chin there. Oh, is that Richard III? Oh, that's a hassle.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Look at that chin. He could open doors with that chin.
Oh.
Frightful family, that way. God, I can't imagine him being flopping.
Royal.
Is that a dude or a dudette? I have no idea.
It's hard to tell with the Royals. Really hard to tell. It's got fluffy hair, like a face like he's been boxing. Got a boxing career. Is that a house? Yes, that's definitely one of them.
See, kiddies, this is what happens when you
I could spot one in a crowd.
Practice inbreeding.
A Habsburg. I could spot one in a crowd there.
You could spot one of those heads anywhere. Jeez.
Oh, see Leopold's hair? Oh, yeah. Thing going on.
It's just funny that there's so many different pictures, but they all look just as messed up.
I lost with that though.
There was a year like 1925, I think it was. All the royal dynasties came to a screeching halt. Over. Have you noticed that?
Mm-hmm.
All those royal families, all the monarchies, they just dropped it. They just dropped it all,
Yeah.
Or they all got overthrown.
Yeah.
Well,
some of them didn't abdicate, and then they had bad things happen.
Yeah. Oh, nice Tartarian eagle.
Yeah.
Well, they're a dodgy lot, aren't they?
Yeah. Everybody wants to be a princess. I don't think so. Not those. I mean, that has to be a joke. They have to be just kidding around, honestly.
I know.
Or they were actually, because portraits are usually more flattering. They must.
Yeah, I was going to say, they could say the artists make me look good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's just so many of them. Like they all look the same.
I want to bring a photograph. I want to look like this person, this jouster.
Oh, now we're even more coneheady here.
Yeah.
Painfully pale as well, aren't they? They're like, you know, really pale.
Yeah.
Like they've never seen the sunlight. She's got a double cone head going on.
Oh God, that's an interesting looking woman.
What is that, man? Wow, that bridge.
She's from No City.
She's out of proportion, isn't she? Her head's a bit small and her neck, she's out of proportion.
She's a big girl.
Yeah, giantess.
And how much is all these you know, headdresses and even the clothes and everything? Like, how much like Star Wars is it?
Yeah, it seems excessive, doesn't it?
I mean, imagine how long it would just take to get dressed, especially some of the women. I mean, and undress, that's got to be a big part of your day. I mean, what's the reason behind it?
Right. Yeah.
There's got to be a good reason to do that.
There's an hour to get it on, just putting that on, and an hour to get it off.
Yeah. And then you know, how do you wash these these clothes without
good point
hurting them?
That is a brilliant point.
Especially the ones with all the jewels and everything all through them.
Yeah, they're not that really nice back in the 14th century. Not for the common folk.
Yeah, it's so impractical.
All that mud around as well, like, you know, their dresses dragging in it. And they stayed
well,
long
that's
like
the thing.
that.
Like, they show us that they would dress like this, and then they say, oh yeah, then they worked in the fields all day for 14 hours. I mean, really? Dress like that? I mean, these people, these clothes, they don't look like the clothes that manual workers would wear, do they?
Nah.
No.
They don't really look like the clothes that any kind of workers would wear. They look like the clothes that people who just sort of walked around and had everything they needed and didn't really care would wear.
Elite's fashions.
Yeah. Yeah, the 19th century clothing to me is the most bizarre because...
I got my son here, I have to go soon, guys.
Didn't they have summertime? Yeah.
Well, they were living in the forest, weren't they? We all look like Robin Hood. Green tights on.
Men in tights.
Men in tights, exactly.
Yeah. And a feather in your cap.
That's what they did to us. They hate us.
Yeah. Yeah, this stuff. The top hats. They didn't have warm days. They didn't have wind. So.
Yeah. Well, it's true, isn't it? Like every photo, they've all got the same clothes on. The temperature doesn't seem to change.
UAP, guys, I got to bounce. I got my son yet, and I need to.
All right. Yeah, I got.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. All right.
I got a choice. I've been here hours, and he's visiting. So.
Jeez, oh my gosh, what was that? Bloody 2 hours.
Yeah. Cool. It goes quick.
Flies by.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah.
And these things. These survival things. 2 hours, yeah. Oh yeah, wicked. Right, that's what we're doing.